Okay, what we got going on here?
Well, guys, ice fishing season is officially over. We're about to close it out. You're going to see that, but a little intro random clip in the middle. We got some extra wax worms. Let's see what happens if we drop one in there. Did he get it? Oh, there we go.
Nice strike, caught on camera. Number 2.
Did they not watch this guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Is he the blind one?
yeah, that's the blind one.
Come on. You can sense it. They're everywhere. It's like watching Jaws live.
Okay, guys, back in Rod Ripper's headquarters. Sad, but also kind of exciting day. It is February 29th.
It's leap year.
And as you guys saw, we tried to go fishing. The ice was pretty sketchy, and it's supposed to get to like 50 today, almost 60 tomorrow. And we had like maybe 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of ice today. So I'm going to guess that's gone. So ice fishing is done in this closet. I just put away my ice fishing gear. Jake just loaded up his stuff from the garage to take it home. So I think ice fishing is done. But that means spring fishing.
That's right. That's the best time of the year, especially fishing in Iowa or anywhere you are. You know, spring comes at different times, depending on where you are, north or south. You know, we go up to Canada sometimes early, like in May and early June. That's almost their spring. So our springtime, it's coming around your normal, March 20th, 21st, 22nd.
Get on crappie spawn.
That's right.
And then right after that, you got the bass coming in, and it's going to be awesome. So we got that coming up. But to kind of close out ice fishing, we have some of our gear laid out. We're going to talk about some of the stuff we used this year, what we had some success with, and kind of take it from there. So, number 1, top item, the Vexilar. You guys saw this a lot. We talked about it a lot, used it a lot. This thing is money. This is the FLX 20. If you guys can see there. Oh, yeah, there it is. Oh, FLX 20. I love it. It's awesome. Has multiple different modes to it. Vexilar's huge. Makes it a little more exciting, especially when the bite's not going. You can see marks coming in and out.
It is. It's good to use it. I like the old school version of finding and dead sticking on the bottom and then watching, but it is good when you're fishing big bodies of water. We were up north last weekend, Brushy Creek. Awesome atmosphere. And without electronics, you're really you're in a tough spot because you want to be able to see that you're on fish with such a big body of water. So,
and when we're looking at contour maps,
yep.
Like we can get pretty close, but obviously looking at a map and walking out there are two very different things. So making sure that the contour and checking depths with
yep.
the Vexilar when we get out there to make sure we're finding the right drop-offs where we actually want to fish is huge too.
It is. Number 1 tip for sure. Another tip, back in the day I did old school.
You go old school for a sec.
That's right.
I'm going to go dad duty.
We got dad duty in the background. So I got a couple of my Shield specials here, which I do. I'm a big fan of Shields. These are like 15, 20 years old. So this rod, there you go, Remy. It's a good one, isn't it? That's right. So this rod, back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, is about a $30 rod. And so this was pretty sensitive. This is an ultralight. So I've been using these for a long time, and they've done well for me. This is 24 inches. Usually I have 24, 26. It's really interesting how things have changed over the years. Another one of my classic ones I have from 15, 20 years ago is the True Blue, and this is the Dave Gents. So I have these set up. So a lot of these other ones that, this has a little bit more backbone here. It's good to have, ultralight, light, and then, switching it up. I don't think we have any heavies yet, but we don't fish a lot of really big fish like your pike and your muskie or anything through the ice like you would up north. This has been great for that jaw jacker, so it's been set up with the loop you can see there. So those are some of the old school ones. Talk to us about some of the new school rods.
This is the rod father, the old timer. He said immediately disregarded the Vexilar and went to his fine bottom dead stick. He's old in his ways. So this is also real quick going on the jaw jackers. We were just using that little hook, and then you put a split shot up above it, and just having it run about 1 foot to 1.5 feet. So that minnow has a little free room. That's what we run on the jaw jackers. Worked awesome. We had a lot of success with the jaw jackers this year.
They were fun.
The hooks we were actually using were a little bit bigger than that for the crappie and the bass. We switched to the smaller hooks when we were doing some trout fishing up in northern Iowa earlier this week.
Mm-hmm. It also is good. With that, it was fun with those small hooks. You know, we have some of these guys. You have some of the fireballs, and then we have some other baits that we like to use. It's fun. If you've never trout fished through the ice, we were talking about it earlier, you should give it a shot. Trout they're extremely strong fish. And even though they're small and they're pan size, they fight really hard, and they roll and they twist almost like a catfish. They're fun, really fun to catch.
Twist all the way up out the hole. New age poles. We've got the pickle.
That's right. AKA Green Hornet. Shout
Green
out Grumpy Old Men and Grumpy Old Men.
Grumpy Old Men.
Two of the best movies of all time, and they just happen to be about fishing.
And this is actually called the Radioactive Pickle is the name, but we call it the Green Hornet, honor of Grumpy Old Men, and that's just a great movie, so why not? And it's green, so the Green Hornet.
And they did lose the Green Hornet, and then they snagged it. And we did lose. He did lose the Green Hornet, and then we snagged it.
And then Jake snagged it, and we got it back. So, I mean, just why not? But this is the Radioactive Pickle Black Betty. Awesome. This tip, okay,
Super
this
sensitive.
is the ultralight, okay, yep. And this
Amazing.
is 27-inch ultralight pole. I think you can get like an 18-inch too. This is just the factory one. I got the longer rod ultralight. That tip is unreal sensitive. I mean, like any action, like even the jig, when you're jigging up and down it just slow. You can tell any bite, and then it goes into a pretty solid backbone. About midway through, it gets pretty stiff. So you can set that hook and keep your fish pinned.
Things have changed.
Yeah, this is super sensitive. It is awesome.
This is the ultralight from 15 to 20 years ago, and as you can see, like this is still a nice rod. I still really like to use it. Like I said, the Shields brand, it's held up really well, still in excellent condition. Use it a lot. It just not even close to the Radioactive Pickle or the Green Hornet. Still a really nice rod, but this thing is going to catch 4 or 5 to 1 against this for sure, especially when you use electronics.
And the inline reels, I can press this button, and with the tungsten jigs, so this is a tungsten jig. They have a little more weight to them, a little more dense, and they will drop down just if you hold that. And then obviously the bigger jigs do, so you can just hold that, drop down to the depth you want, click it in. Really nice, but that is a little more expensive option. So some of our cheaper options, like you can get good ultralight poles that work just the same, in that you got that one. Let's go.
I'm honestly a huge fan of this, and I started fishing this one just because we had some other ones set up. I just picked it up. I called it the Orange Tip, okay, as we have really good nicknames for things. I don't even know. This is a Celsius, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about this, but this is a Fleet Farm special.
Fleet Farm special. I got
Okay.
that, I'm pretty sure, on sale for like $15, and that was spooled and everything. And I have not changed the line it came with. It's 4-pound mono.
Yeah.
And it is money. It's super ultralight pole. That's the one, if you catch it, like you see some of the bass videos, that pole is like bent all the way down to the tip.
Yeah.
And it is just light.
I loved using this. I started picking it up. I started fishing this one a lot. Besides, the Black Betty, the Radioactive Pickle, like this was my other favorite to use, and this is like $20. You don't have to go super expensive. You can get a couple of these babies. They're already pre-spooled, ready to go to give ice.
This is also a $20 ultralight pole. This one's called Yellow Tip.
There you
Okay,
go.
if you guys can catch on to our nicknames when we're yelling out which poles are going.
Yep.
This has a super sensitive tip like my Radioactive Pickle, and then midway through it gets pretty stiff. So very similar rod in that action. I think the Pickle's a little more sensitive because it has that like paper thin tip.
Yeah.
But both of these are great. And this one is another $20 pole.
You don't have to go crazy with it.
You can get cheap poles and they still work the same, especially pan fishing. If you're getting into like big walleye, northern pike, and like lake trout, obviously you're going to want to step up your game, and it's going to be a little more pricey, the pole wise. But you don't have to, especially if you're pan fishing or bass fishing.
Mm-hmm.
You can go light. Okay, lures wise?
Yeah, let's go into the lures. So
I've been preaching frostbite just because obviously the reason I'm the host is because I'm like they always make fun of me. I'm always watching YouTube videos. I love AP Bassin, John B, a lot of those Guggen Squad guys, me liking fishing. Pig Patrol is good. I like all those guys. But AP Bassin started Frostbite Company. We are not sponsored by anyone, so we'll obviously be straight up with you guys. So I'll tell you what we think. But I got into it just because I like him as a YouTuber, enjoy watching him. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to try these. This is the Dinner Bell. The smaller version, I think they even have one smaller than this. They have 3 sizes, but this worked for crappie, bluegill. We caught a bunch of perch on it when we were up at Brushy Creek. That one worked good, and honestly, most of our bigger perch came off that dinner bell, because otherwise we were using just a little tungsten jig with the wax worm. And then we tried the dinner bell, and then I also used, the tantrums, okay, the frostbite tantrums. I caught my biggest perch off this, if you believe that. That's a pretty big jig there.
That is big.
And that I was catching some good sized perch on that. But that's the large size of the frostbite tantrum. I also have 2 of the smaller sizes. They're in here. So I have the exact same color. I also have the bluegill color. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. It looks like a bluegill. But I also have the mini tantrum. Had a lot of success with these with crappie and bluegill this year. Obviously, mostly we use like a little tungsten jig and waxworm, or dead stick with a minnow and just a hook. There's some of the tungsten jigs.
That's right. This is a Glow-Brite, and these are very reasonably priced, a tungsten jig. But I like that where they go down there and they glow. Like we used to take out the flashlights and we'd charge them up, and then they drop down and you get hammered right away. But you're constantly going and charging and everything. I still like the Glow-Brites. They have good action. They last a really long time. Another thing with these old school rods that I have, sometimes you can just add a sensitive tip to it. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. You got the little orange deal there. And so what it ends up doing is adding a little bit of sensitivity to it. Once you get those things dialed in, obviously it's not as nice as if you had it in the rod and had an expensive rod. But if you take one of your oldie goldies and then add this, this $3 little item to it, it can make it a lot more sensitive, caught a lot more fish doing that as well.
Yeah. And with these, obviously mostly you guys saw us using the tungsten jigs, which Frostbite also has, but you can get them off Amazon. Their tungsten jigs are everywhere. I recommend tungsten jigs are a little bit more expensive, but worth it. They're dense. They drop down, especially if you're fishing deeper water. They're going to get to the bottom way faster. But usually tipped with the waxworm, like we said. Live bait is awesome, but for a non-live bait like if you don't want to carry around live bait, or if the fish are just really bitey and you can put anything down there and they're going to hit, and you don't want to have to tip your waxworm every time you're getting hit.
Mm-hmm.
These tantrums, the dinner bells, and then the tungsten jigs with these plastics. These are Frostbite plastics. As you can see, I got a plethora of colors. Some of them we didn't even tap into this year, but my favorite was the Frostbite Performance Ice Mite Junior. That was my money ball. It has kind of like a little ball on the tail that keeps it just bobbing. And literally, we were testing them in the sink. We should do a video over that.
Or in the fish tank too.
In the fish tank. they might bite it in there, but that'd be worth it. And you just barely move it, and that tail, just with the ball on the end, it makes it heavy and it just bounces.
Really good action.
But the Ice Mite Junior was my favorite, especially like if they're in a bitey mood and they're just hitting right away and you're marking and they're hitting. Plastics, awesome. First year we've really got into the plastics a lot. Mm-hmm. We used some Gulp last year and had a little bit of luck, but these are a lot better size, and these were money this year. So I was really impressed with those. Hard to beat, especially if the fish are a little finicky and hard to bite. Waxworms are awesome, but if they are in a good mood, I was impressed. I enjoyed them.
They're really good. We have a good box here too. Talking some more old school stuff there. A little teeny tiny Rapala or a Rapala, depending on where you are. People say it different ways. You say, but Dad always said Rapala, and I heard tons of people say Rapala. It just depends on who you ask. These are classic lures, and they a lot of times use them for freshwater. We have crankbaits and things like that. These are jigs, and so you jig, and a lot of them you jig up in the ice hole, and then they slowly go down in a circular motion. They have nice jigging motion. So Rapala or Rapala are really good to use, and you try different sizes. Everybody has their go-to colors. I'm big on green or chartreuse. That's a big thing down Lake the Ozarks with Dad. My grandpa is like, you can use any color as long as it has chartreuse in it. We like that green color. In Canada, we call it fire tiger. We get some of the green and the yellows and the oranges and stuff like that. So those are really good lures as well.
Also, this is a clip weight. You clip it to your hook. If you're dead sticking or setting up jawjackers and you don't want to carry around the Vexilar to every hole and check where you're at, and you just want to put them a foot or two off bottom, you can put this down, put your marker knot or your slip knot at the top of your pole, and then pull it up a foot and mark it. This is nice. It gets to the bottom right away, and you're marking it. Also, from the bait store up the road here in Oski. I will give you the name of that later. I can't think of it off the top of my head. That's where we always get our minnows, waxworms. They have all kinds of good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But he also gave me the point, if you're fishing a lot of brush for crappie and you're getting hung up a lot and you don't want to lose a ton of lures, you just clip your line through there and you slide this down and it will knock the lure off and then stay on. You reel it up, you get out of the tree. Can save you a lot of lures. I used it twice and it was 2 for 2 this year for that. So always good to have in the box. Thank you for the tip, local tackle store.
That's a good tip. Did you talk about the bait puck?
Oh, yeah.
Got a
We have
couple
not.
of these guys. Bait puck.
Just got those this year. That was a Christmas gift from the lovely wife.
You got 2 of these. So these are from Strike and Master Ice Augers. And normally you just have the little plastic deals. But now we actually have this, looks like, like a hockey puck.
And these guys are literally still alive. This is from 2 weeks ago. We bought these the day we went bass fishing. And then kept them in the pucks for a week. Used them at Brushy Creek last week. And then they're still here a week later and still alive. And I don't know if you guys ever use or you bring them out and sometimes they'll freeze and they turn like black on you and all that. Haven't had that at all.
They're insulated.
Also not sponsored, but these have been awesome. Have saved a ton of bait.
And they do float.
They do float. We found that out. We tested it. We were sliding this back and forth. It landed in a hole. Floated. So you're not going to lose it down the hole. And it keeps your bait good and fresh. And we've had them in there. And honestly, I might just keep these to feed the fish for a while because they're still alive.
It's a good little investment.
Last thing I think we have up here, Gary at work, one of our buddies, hand ties these things, and they're awesome. And I gave him some pheasant feathers, so he tied me a few of these. And I never used to think ice fishing with kind of these big ties would be that good. But Aaron Weeb did a video where he literally gets some hair off a roadkill deer. If you guys haven't watched Aaron Weeb, Uncut Angling, he's amazing. I keep saying his name. Maybe one day he'll see me and like reach out. That would be cool. But anyways, he hand ties.
To fish or to hang out?
Yeah, just either. It doesn't matter.
Either.
But he hand ties it with a roadkill deer, drops down and catches like a ton of 16-inch crappies up in Manitoba. So we tried using these a few times and got on some crappie. I didn't use them as much as I wanted to at Brushy Creek because it was so windy and we didn't move around as much. And then day 2 was great, but what we already had on was hitting. But definitely got on some crappie with these ice fishing, and I'm excited to use these this spring for during the spawn. But definitely some good ice fishing baits. But that's just kind of our tips for ice fishing. The wrap up, what we used.
It's a good year. I thought overall it was a really good year. We shared some of our highlights. We'll have pictures and things like that in the video too. I'd say we learned a lot. You got to try new things to become a better angler, and I feel like we did that this short ice season that we had.
A month and a half, and we got out 11 times, which was awesome. So not bad. We still, in the short season, we still got out and got some fish.
Special thanks to our wives.
Special thanks to our wives. Shout out.
Supporting our endeavors and our
You
YouTube
guys are
channel.
amazing. Especially my wife upstairs right now that is watching Remy because she was crying in the background, as you guys saw earlier this video, and she's at the top of the stairs. But for letting us and watching the kids. But it was a good season. So spring fishing. Let's do a 2-minute intro. We get talking sometimes. So we're going to do quick 2 minutes on fishing this spring. What are you going to see? Coming up in 2 weeks, we're going to Florida. You're going to see some fishing from the beach. We're doing an inshore charter. We got most of the Rod Ripper crew going. It's going to be 5 or 6 of us on a boat. That should be entertaining. We got also the goons, the Bash brothers, whatever you want to call them, Nick and Joel. And usually when you get them out and about, it gets a little wild. So that should be entertaining.
So that's definitely going to be a highlight there. Obviously, Canada's coming up. That's going to be in June. But before that, we have a month and a half of open water fishing. Spring fishing is the best. You got the crappie spawn. We got a little trout pond that's close by. We got bass ponds all over the place. One of them's not even a quarter mile right over here. So looking forward to a lot of those things that are going to be coming up here really quick.
It's coming up. Stay tuned, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the ice fishing, kind of starting in the 2020 you got in the ice fishing, but spring and summer, because we are teachers, is when we get out and do a lot of our open water fishing. So be ready for a lot of content, and we're excited to get out there.
That's right. Stay tuned.